Hello chess family, it's me, National Master Jesse James, and today we're going to go over the idea of pawn breaks or creating a passed pawn in the endgame. What's a passed pawn? Well, this is the most valuable pawn in the endgame. A passed pawn is a pawn that cannot be stopped by your opponent's pawns. In this scenario, you can see, well, we do not have any. We have 3 pawns standing off against 3 different pawns. Do you know this composition? Here it's actually white to move and win. We can force the passed pawn to be made here. What do you start off with? Feel free to push pause if you want to try and guess it. If not, here we go. We actually start off with pawn to g6, and this is an offer black cannot refuse. We just played pawn g6, forking h7 and f7 pawn over here. And here, well, black has nothing better than to take, because if they don't take, we will take, and we will get a pawn across the board. So h takes on g6. It doesn't matter if they take with the f or h pawn. It's going to be the same kind of answer except in reverse. And I'll go over it one more time showing the opposite side just for those who want it. So h takes on g6, and here the idea is, well, we now have what's called a candidate passed pawn. What's a candidate passed pawn? A candidate passed pawn is a pawn that has no pawn in front of it, but it can still be stopped. As you can see, we have the g pawn here stopping it, which leads to the answer. Well, what do we do to get rid of the defender? Remove the defender. Here we get to play that very nice idea, f6. And here again, black just has no good choices. If they go ahead and take on h7, well, we take on, h5, then we take on g7, and we'll queen real fast. Okay, that means we're going to have to take on f6 here, and now this h-pawn has become a full-fledged pass pawn by playing pawn to h6. And this is not even a pawn race. As you can see, the white pawn is going to queen very fast. White's winning. Let's take a look at that again, except this time we'll take with the f-pawn. So again, we're going to play pawn g6. This is forced. h6 and f6 will not win here, only g6. By making the double attack here, black needs to make a decision. This time they take with the f-pawn, and again, we're going to win with our candidate passed pawn. Which one's the candidate passed pawn? The f-pawn or the h-pawn? It's the f-pawn, right? Here we see it's the pawn that has no pawn in front of it. Although, it's not a full passed pawn because the g7 pawn here is stopping it. So we need to get rid of the defender. So what do you play? Here we get to play pawn h6. And after pawn takes, again, the pawn runs and becomes a queen very fast. f7, h4, and f8 over here. Uh-oh, it's a girl and it's check. Even worse than the last one. All right, let's go on to our next example. We have 3 examples today for creating a passed pawn. In this one over here, another classic position. This one is Karloff versus Ernest in 1992. And in this position right here, it was a drawn position, but black makes a mistake and plays pawn to g5, and now it's white's move to win. White's move and win. What do you play here? All right, hopefully you found it. Remember, we did talk about pushing your passed pawns, but here is not the time. Here, if you play pawn c5, wah, wah, you are not winning. In fact, it's probably either going to be a draw or it's going to be a loss now. Here, black actually wins by playing pawn to g4 here, amazing enough. And, well, if you push the pawn, black just goes after the pawn. And now, your best option is just going to be running up and winning this pawn. But even here, this is just not winning, unfortunately, due to the final position. And at this point, it looks like white's doing okay here, but after king takes, the king is forced over to the g file so the pawn can move forward, and this is white's losing. After king g5, king f3, we're going to see our pawn queen in check while theirs does not, and that one check means a lot here. One square away, but after queen check here, it is now a winning position here for black. Oof. So going back to that beginning position, after g5 here, pushing the c pawn is not the right thing to do. The right idea here was to play, and hopefully you remember this for next time, is pawn to g4, exclam. Notice here, black just has no good moves. At some point, a pawn is going to get to h5 right here. Whether they go ahead and take or they do not. For instance, if they play h takes on g4, well, we did that idea. We created the passed pawn by playing h5 here. And here, black could play f5 here, because now if you just push the pawn forward, well, the king just stops it. But remember, when you're playing in this endgame, what's better than one passed pawn? 2 passed pawns. The king will be able to stop one, but will not be able to stop both here. So that's why white is winning in this position right here. And again, like I said in the other variation, if they just go ahead and take, well, we go ahead and take back. And the bad part for them is, well, we have 2 passed pawns. They've only got 1. We can stop theirs, and we can queen first here too. All right, let's go on to our final example over here. This one over here, it is going to be black to move and win, and this one is a very tough one. I challenge you to go ahead and push pause, see if you can find the right move. All right, hopefully you push pause. Hope you tried to figure it out. It is black to move here, and we're going to start off with pawn to f4 right here. I've probably heard a few of you guys saying pawn h4, and, well, unfortunately, this one is just not working here. Here, white just plays h takes G takes on h4. If f4 tries to get played here, if you play anything else, you'll be getting into a bad position. For instance, after pawn takes, now black is winning with g3. But here, the right move here for white is just to go ahead and play pawn g3, stopping all the pawns, and now white goes into the winning endgame. So instead, here, after this, we're just going to go ahead and play pawn to f4, first move. And here it does not matter which way they take. Again, we're going to be able to create that passed pawn. So let's go and take a look at the first line. Let's say they go ahead and play e takes on f4. The idea is to get the e pawn across the board, but, well, the f pawn is stopping us. So we got to get to the f pawn. But wait a second, we can't move this pawn forward because the g pawn. Well, then we got to get rid of the g pawn. Pawn to h4 gets played, and you will be winning here. If you do not take, well, then we'll play h3 here and then create a new pass pawn over here. Remember, this is almost a candidate pass. Oh, this is a candidate pass pawn right here. So then they're going to go ahead and take, and then we play g3, and now the pawn will run. After pawn takes, e3, just a winning endgame here. So, well, at this point you might say, well, you know what? Maybe we don't have to take. I'll just go ahead and move my king closer, and then I'll take the pawn. Here again we have a beautiful move with pawn to h4. Dear Lord, either way that you take, you will be losing. All right, let's take a look, guys. G takes h4. Now we create that pass pawn by playing pawn to g3. Again, if they do not take, they're just going to be losing. I mean, they're more than welcome to try f3 right here, but then we just take. And again, we see that the g pawn will run or the f pawn will run. Dear Lord, I guess we'll just take. And if they take back, this is a draw, right? It is, but remember, we've seen the good move. Look for the better one. Here we just missed a free pawn. Pawn takes over here on e3, and we will queen yet again. Dear Lord. What about if we take the e pawn? If the e pawn takes over here on f4? Well, if pawn takes over here, like I said, we just play pawn h3, and then we're going to be winning yet again. Is there any other ideas that we have in this position here? Oh, you might try king takes on e4. But again, you're just going to be losing with pawn. Oh, I'm sorry. Pawn to f3. Now, this is important to play on pawn f3 here. If you played h3, you actually play g takes, king f3, and the king is close enough to stop it. So, grandmaster idea, here we're going to stop the king from getting to f3 by playing pawn to f3 here ourselves. And here white has nothing better than pawn takes, and now we get to push, and now the king lost access to the g2 square. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed this. Remember, this was creating passed pawns in the endgame or doing pawn breaks. We'll see you in the next video.